this is what's going to happen. Okay, so you've done your bit checking on legislation, I've just checked on my legislation. As I said to you, the shop does not have to accept it just because it is legal tender. You said it's legal tender, you are correct, however it is a commemorative coin. On the internet they're worth about 20 quid.
Well,
right, so here is what is going to happen. Either you are going to pay for your fuel correctly, or you are going to fill out their civil recovery form so that you can arrange to make payment at a later date, or I'm going to arrest you for bilking.
What's bilking?
Bilking, making off without payment. You've got to the point where payment is due, you're now refusing to make payment, therefore I will treat it as a criminal offence. So how would you wish to proceed at this point?
Well, I have got means to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to fill out a civil recovery form.
Okay, right, so what's the means that
what
you're
was the
going
option
to pay? So option 1 is either you pay, option 2 is you fill out the form, option 3 is that you get arrested.
Well, pay.
No, you pay with legal tender that they will accept.
That is legal tender.
No, they don't have,
But if this is a £50 note and he said, oh look, we don't accept £50 notes because there's lots of forgeries,
exactly.
Would you be doing exactly the same thing now?
Yes, so if you go into a corner shop and try and pay for a penny chew with a £50 note, they are perfectly within their rights to refuse that sale.
The sergeant's opening accusation of bilking doesn't hold water. Under the Theft Act 1978, making off without payment requires two things: actually leaving the premises and intending to avoid payment. The auditor was still on site, sat in his car, and actively offering to pay. When the auditor produces a £100 Royal Mint coin, the sergeant makes it worse by saying it depends on what they'll accept. That's not how the law works. Once fuel has been dispensed, a debt exists, and offering legal tender lawfully discharges that debt. A cashier's personal preference or lack of knowledge can't override statute. By siding with Tesco instead of the law, the sergeant showed he had no understanding of the very basics of legal tender.
It's different because...
No, it's not different.
No, it is.
You have offered a form of payment that they will not accept. The principle is exactly the same.
Well, if you arrest me, it'll be a wrongful arrest.
Yeah? It's not. It's a lawful arrest because I've explained the situation and I've explained that I believe you're doing this for
Are you a
dishonest
sergeant
reason.
or an officer?
I am a sergeant.
Right.
Okay, so my point is also that coin is not worth the face value of it. It's not legal tender in such a way that this shop has to accept it as being valued at £100.
Okay, so it has. Hang on.
Short of the mark.
No, I'm not. So it is got a face value of £100. So it is worth £100.
It's not.
Well, you say that, but the Bank of England, the House of Commons, the state. All the institutions that came before you say it is, right? But you say it isn't, right? Now you say it's only worth whatever you say it was. Interestingly, I don't know if you've looked at the price of silver, but that's probably worth about £48 in silver. Hang on, I haven't finished yet. So that's £48 in silver.
Yeah.
Whereas, how much is a £20 note or a £50 note worth in plastic? What, a penny or two?
This is where the sergeant's credibility collapses. When the auditor rightly points out that the coin carries a face value of 100, the sergeant flatly denies it, calling it just a commemorative coin. That's not how the law works. A coin struck by the Royal Mint with an assigned face value is legal tender. Regardless of whether it's commemorative or in general circulation, its status comes from law, not from the cashier's preference or the officer's opinion. By claiming the coin does not carry its face value, the sergeant showed a total lack of understanding of currency law. Commemorative or not, the 100 coin is backed by the Crown and the Treasury, meaning it must be accepted for payment of a debt.
You ought to check to make sure it's not an unlawful arrest.
Another unit, please. This chap's about to be arrested.
Well, it'd be unlawful arrest.
Well, it's not a wrongful arrest.
It would be a wrongful arrest. Well, how can you arrest somebody for refusing to pay when they're offering to pay with a coin of the realm?
Because you're not offering to pay with payment that they can accept or will accept or have to accept. No.
Now, interestingly, you said that you've done some research on this, and I've done this before.
Yeah.
Well, what was the outcome of it last time?
It was no further action.
Why was that then?
I don't know.
Well, how come you've got a record of that?
I'm about to let you drive off from here.
Well, how come you got a record that I did it last time, but you haven't got a record of the outcome?
Well, because I haven't got time to look at that right now.
But you have got time to arrest me and deal with all the paperwork that'll be involved in that.
Yep.
So that's just abusing your power, I think, because what you're trying to do is
you're power proportionally. These people here are trying to run a business, and you are making life extremely difficult by being obstructive in how you're going to pay.
No, I'm not.
The sergeant openly admits he's dealt with this exact situation before, but can't even explain what the outcome was. That alone shows he isn't learning from experience. He's just repeating the same heavy-handed response without reflection. What makes it worse is his refusal to even check. When pressed, he shrugs it off, saying he hasn't got time to look at the result. Yet, seconds later, boasts he does have time to arrest and fill out all the paperwork that comes with it. That isn't policing. That's ego. Arrest should be a last resort, backed by facts. Here, the facts were staring him in the face. The auditor hadn't left, had offered payment, and was holding lawful currency.
I'm only here to enforce the law, I'm not here to decide. I just suspect that an offence has taken place, okay? So I'm not convicting you, and you're refusing, to cooperate with me any further. You're refusing to resolve this situation by giving these people your details. So therefore,
no, I don't, because what you're trying to encourage me to do is not to give them my details, but to fill out a legally binding form. You're actually encouraging me to fill out a legally binding form, right? That would be detrimental to me.
Why? Because you have to pay for your fuel just like everybody else in this petrol station? No,
because you're forcing me not to use cash. It's exactly the same as you...
No, I'm forcing you to provide the legal tender that this business is willing to accept.
But it's not for them to pick and choose.
It is, absolutely.
No, it's not.
If they will only accept payment in Pokemon cards, that is entirely up to them.
Yeah, but they need to state that on the pump. Right, when I take the fuel, they say payment only in Pokemon. I'm not trying to. What do you think? What do you think I'm trying to achieve then out of this?
So why are you not willing to offer any other sort of payment? Do you have bank cards on you?
Maybe it's a matter of principle. This is a coin of the realm. You shouldn't be threatening to arrest me because of their preference as to what type of note or coin they accept. That's ridiculous.
The sergeant trying to spin this as the auditor pulling a fast one is laughable. A fast one is when someone sneaks off without paying. Not when they stand in plain sight, offering legal tender straight to the cashier. The whole accusation collapses the moment you remember the auditor never left the forecourt, never hid his intent, and openly put forward a £100 coin issued by the Royal Mint. And when the sergeant presses, why not pay another way? The auditor's reply cuts through it perfectly. It's about principle. He shouldn't have to bend just because the shop or the police don't like the method of payment. The law recognizes that coin as valid currency. If retailers can refuse it and police back them up with threats of arrest, then suddenly it's not the law deciding what's money. It's individual preference.
It's not your job, is it, to state what type of coin that Tesco accepts or not?
It's my job to make sure that you don't go past the point of payment without making payment.
I haven't driven off, have I? I've got every intention of paying with this coin.
No.
If I had no intention, if I was trying to do something dishonest, I'd driven off, wouldn't I? But the fact is, I've waited here for you to come and I've discussed it with you. I've tried to explain it, being very civil and be rude, have I? In any way, I've got no disrespect for the police whatsoever. Might go downhill a bit if you arrest me unlawfully.
Okay.
I just think, please just check that it's a lawful arrest. I don't think it is.
I believe it is.
And the whole point of cash and legal tender is that you cannot be successfully prosecuted for non-payment if you've offered legal tender. So if I had Scottish notes, right, now they're not legal tender in the UK, they're not legal tender full stop, but Tesco...
The auditor nailed it when he told the sergeant, you can't be prosecuted for non-payment if you've already offered legal tender. That's the whole point of legal tender. Once it's offered, the debt is discharged whether the retailer likes it or not. The offense of making off without payment only applies when someone leaves without paying and intends to avoid it altogether. His comparison with Scottish banknotes is spot on. Technically, they're not legal tender in England, yet retailers across the country accept them every day without issue. So, how can Tesco happily take Scottish notes, but reject an official UK 100 coin that is legal tender? It exposes the absurdity of the sergeant's position. The problem wasn't the auditor's method of payment. It was the store's inconsistency backed up by bad policing.
An invitation to take the fuel, and I've taken the fuel, and now I've got a debt and I'm offering to pay the debt in legal tender. Now in the store it's different because I haven't taken the food, have I? In fact, if I'd have eaten the food, I'd be obligated to pay for it, and then it'd be the same scenario, just the same as if you went into a restaurant and had a meal you know, and then you have to pay afterwards, and you offered to pay in that,
Yeah.
right, they can't lawfully have you prosecuted for failure to pay if you've offered a reasonable means of payment and they've refused to accept it.
Yeah, but you've refused to identify yourself to this person.
Well, I don't need to, do I?
I'm now starting to view your actions as being dishonest.
How have I been dishonest?
I suspect an offence is going to
How have I been dishonest?
because you're refusing to give your information to this gentleman, so that
But he's not entitled to my information, is he?
he is.
Okay,
because
if I told you what my...
because you have a debt to settle up with him.
This is-
So to go to the restaurant scenario,
Yeah.
if you ate your meal and then said, "Oh, I've forgotten my wallet," I've got no means of paying.
Oh, no means paying.
Yeah, okay. So at that point, you're not being dishonest. At the point that you refuse to identify yourself, or you put Mickey Mouse care of Disney World on a piece of paper and say, "Here's my details," you're then becoming dishonest.
What about if, like, we went to
so
the
where
restaurant, we
would
had a
you-
meal,
Yeah,
right, and then I pulled out a £50 note and they said, look, we don't accept £50 notes.
yeah.
They can't make a decision about refusing to accept the £50 notes when you owe them money. They can only refuse they can only refuse to go through with the transaction in the first place. It's only because you've had the goods and you owe a debt that they can't refuse to accept the money.